point I'm making here is that you're getting this resistance not because they are being wicked. That's not the reason, okay? They may be afraid. They may have seen temporary change somewhere before in the past that didn't last long enough. Maybe you keep repeating the same. You've made like 20 apologies on the same issues in the past. You didn't pay attention to it. After all, there's nothing wrong with apologies in a marriage. That's the common sense idea you came up with. You forgot that the more apologies you give, especially when it's not backed up with change, you forget that the more, right, the less value your apology actually carries. Right? The more, like, it's just basic economy principles. More supply, less value, right? Oh, you never thought about it that way. No, it's anything in life. If it's readily available, it reduces value. It gets taken for granted. The same thing with apologies, right? Maybe they've gone through those kind of stuff with you in the past and they don't yet feel safe. It's taking longer than you think because you're not in their shoes. So yes, they may be afraid. They may have seen temporary changes in the past that didn't last, right? And yes, they may still be carrying resentment, right? In my own story, my wife was carrying resentment worth 5 to 8 years by the time everything collapsed, right? So imagine, it's like, oh, like, of course I needed her to forgive me, like right now, because I made a change. But that's not the reality of things, right? Now, everybody's story is different, like I've been telling you, right? In fact, we had a client who was she could recognize that the husband is making changes, even spiritually, even from a behavioral standpoint, but she just couldn't help herself. She had to be conscious, and she felt conflicted oftentimes. Okay, but anyway, with what I'm about to show with you, things get more easier. But I want to show you mistake number 3. Mistake number 2 now. Mistake number 2. Mistake number 2 is that their skepticism, right? So they're skeptical, right? Of course they're skeptical, possibly rightfully so, right? The skepticism determines whether you think you're progressing or not, right? I'm going to make it simple. The skepticism determines how you measure progress. How you measure progress. This was a mistake I was making. That would be mistake number 2, right? So again, subconsciously you're thinking, if my husband wants divorce, right, my change is not working, right? If they still want divorce right now, if they're still checked out, it's just not working, right? Of course, that's not the reality. Okay, now I understand why you feel that same way, because I felt that same way. Sometimes they're warm today, and then you feel powerful. Tomorrow they're cold, and then suddenly you feel like you quit. You quit on the process altogether. You quit. Sometimes you quit prematurely, or sometimes you overreact, right? And you abandon the process. You abandon your self-leadership, and that's something we call emotional outsourcing. Basically, their behavior, their skepticism is what's determining what you consider to be progress. Okay, so, and the reality is not the reality the way it should be. I'm going to show you. But if you are making this mistake, it's going to make you react in a certain way. It's going to determine your next move. And what is this next move? You doubt. Okay, you start creating doubt in your mind. Okay, the resistance creates doubt because you're measuring progress based on their skepticism. It creates doubt in your mind. Okay, and if you have all this doubt, if you're now doubting the process, you slow down on your self-work. You slow down on things that honestly you're not really doing for them, you're doing for yourself. You slow down, right? So now you start questioning the entire process. Why am I doing this if she doesn't care? Right? Why should I be the only one putting all the effort? In this stage, it's easy to yield to the common sense based generic advice you get all over the internet, where they tell you that a relationship cannot work with one-sided effort. Yes, that's true, but you can actually weaponize that against yourself. Okay, you can actually weaponize some of these true talking points against yourself, because basically what is basically unrealistic expectations. You're looking for the result before you do the work, We call it give and take, right? Relationship is give and take. That's the result. That's what a healthy relationship looks like, not when you're trying to save the marriage. If you're trying to save the marriage and you're going to wait for give and take before you actually work on the marriage, you're going to lose your way. This is true with anything worthwhile in life. You have to give first. And that is a process, because before it looks like give and take. All right, I'm sure we're clear on that. So you start asking questions like, why should you work on yourself if the other person's leaving, right? Imagine that question. Doesn't make any sense, right? Why are you giving space if nothing is changing? Like, you might as well just assert, hold your foot, put your foot down and say, hey, you either make us fix this marriage or you just leave my house right now. The question is, how's that working out for you? Right? Or you get to a stage where maybe I should send one more message, right? Because you feel like the time, the space is not working. So let me send one more message. Maybe they will just snap back into forgiving you immediately right now. How's that working out? Probably not so good, right? Right? So again, if your growth collapses when your partner doesn't reward it, your growth, if it collapses every time your partner is now rewarding it, yeah, your growth is basically attached to controlling behavior. Okay, that's when you start exhibiting or exuding controlling behavior. It's not tangibles. It's just the way it's your energy. It shows in your energy. You basically require them. You start requiring them to show up a certain way before you can work on your own growth. That's an oxymoron. It's probably why you're frustrated right now. That's why you feel powerless, because your powerlessness is attached to how they show up. And the reality is that you cannot control them. But let me guess, you're going to attempt it indirectly, subtly, somehow, some way. Exactly. It's not going to work. Okay. So now I want to talk about mistake number 3. Mistake number 3. All the mistakes are in the cycle you're looking at. If your entire self-improvement project exists to save the marriage, this was the mistake I was making, because I turned all the self-development work I was doing, I was turning into trying to save the marriage. If all your self-improvement work is all about your marriage, that's the biggest mistake you can make. Right? Self-development work, I'll put that here, equals to saving the marriage. But wait, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, right? I know. Let's talk about it. Saving the marriage. Right? If all of your self-development work basically revolves around, if it's only existing just because you want to save the marriage, right? In your subconsciously, you're thinking, if this doesn't get my husband or my wife back, none of it is worth it. If that's your mindset, right? Every workout, every book, every coaching session, counseling session, the karma conversation sound a little bit more feminine, the better parenting decision. If you're doing all of that, right? And it's secretly for one assignment, which is to save, is to get them back, right? Yeah, it's going to backfire, because that's not sexy. Oh my God, that lacks all kind of, that's not okay. That's not okay. All right. Right. This is supposed to be about your personal power, but basically it's become about the marriage. Now, a good marriage, a healthy marriage is a function of your better self. That's what it comes down to. And if you don't get that, if you're making the same mistake, yes, you're going to basically circle around the circle right back to powerlessness. And this time it's going to be more intense. For every time you circle around the powerlessness and you go back into proving yourself, every time you go around that cycle, things just get worse. It gets worse. It gets worse and worse. And it gets harder to actually fix the marriage. Which, by the way, it shouldn't be about. Don't tell them. It shouldn't be about fixing the marriage. It's about fixing yourself so that your capacity can actually attract the kind of marriage you're looking for. right? So now in this place of powerlessness, now you feel even worse, right? Because before, right, you were powerless because your marriage was in crisis. But now you're powerless and frustrated because you've been doing the work and still don't have the outcome. So what do? You prove harder, more pressure, more resistance, more doubt, of course. And the proof cycle continues just